morning that we appreciate that you being out, and we ask that you continue to pray for us as we speak to you for a few minutes. Everybody that's sitting here this morning made the choice to come this way. Our whole life is built on choices, folks. We choose things. When God moves us, when I invite folks to church, I say, God moves you that direction because, sometimes God may be moving you to do something else, to go some other direction this day. But we need to listen to the Spirit of God and make the choice that the Spirit is laid on our heart. Yeah, it's important to be in church. But God might decide some morning for you to go somewhere else to church because somebody might need you. Just like the woman that was talking about there, that she felt that God had told her to pray for somebody. There's no better thing that we could do to please God than to make the same choices He's making in our life. If He moves upon us to do something, that's when we should do it. And I thank God this morning He gave us choice. I thank God that He gave us a spirit so that we can hear His voice. So many people have closed it out, but folks, the Spirit of God will not lead you wrong. He is smarter than we are. He knows what's going to come down our way tomorrow, and He knows how to prepare us today. And so we just thank Him this morning. And we want to start out this morning over in Luke 14. And it talks about people making choices. Jesus got through telling them about when somebody had called him into a wedding, that whoever it was that was setting up the wedding should be the one that's placing them. Jesus spoke in parable. And so he was saying, if you're invited to a wedding, don't go sit in the highest seat, but let the one that has invited you put you where he wants you. He's kind of telling them, about how we are in the kingdom of God, that God sort of said. But his whole ministry was built on parables. As a matter of fact, Matthew 13:34, I believe it is, said that Jesus didn't even speak to the multitude except in parables. Now, a parable in itself is a story that is within itself is not true. The truth is not just in the story, but within it portrays a greater truth than what is being spoken. You understand what I'm talking about? What he was saying at the time was not what was happening, but it portrayed a truth that is everlasting. A truth that will help us today. And all his parables, if we look at them, has great truth in them for us. Jesus didn't talk just to hear himself talking. And everything he done was for our purpose and on purpose. As he was talking to the people here, we'll start at verse 15. He said this, and when one of them that sat at meat with him, they were eating, heard these things, what he just talked to them about there at 14. He said, blessed is he that shall eat bread in the kingdom of God. Then said he unto him, a certain man made a great supper, and sent his servants at supper time to say to them that were bidden, come, for all things are now ready. And they all with one consent began to make excuses. The first said unto him, I have bought a piece of ground, and I must needs go in and see it. I pray thee, have me excused. And another said, I have bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I go to prove them. I pray thee, have me excused. And another said, I have married a wife, and therefore I cannot come. So the servant come and showed the Lord these things. Then the master of the house, being angry, said to his servant, go out quickly into the streets and lanes of the city, and bring in hither the poor, the maimed, the halt, the blind. And the servant said, Lord, it is done as thou hast commanded, and yet there is room. And the Lord said unto his servant, go out to the highways and hedges, and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled. For I say unto you that none of those men which were bidden should taste of my supper. Now, the supper was free, folks. The invitation was without cost. And he's talking this parable about a supper that is coming. It's the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he's talking to the Jewish nation. And as his servants went out and began to tell them to prepare and to walk after God, they all had an excuse. You know the devil is a champion at giving you an excuse for not doing what you know that you should be doing. I don't know how he talks to you, but every time it seems like that the Lord puts in my path something that I need to be doing, the devil will come along and give me 10 reasons why I can't. But see, we must override these things, because excuse is just that. It's not that you can't do it. It's that you have found a way to kind of justify yourself for not doing it. Now, I want you to notice what how thin these excuses was. I bought a piece of ground, and I must needs go see it. He's already bought it. What's he going to do with it? He's already bought the ground, but he said, Lord, I can't come because I got to go here and look at this ground. Well, it won't move till tomorrow. How flimsy sometimes our excuses are for not listening to the call of God. And one said, I bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I need to go prove it. And I want you to notice in both these cases, they've already done what they were going to do. No way out of it. But they found a way to justify themselves in not answering the call of God. And one had married and couldn't go. And you know, let me tell you something, folks. Marriage is a great thing. But marriage should not keep you away from God ever. Because when I go to church, if my husband would go without him. I go to church if my wife would go without her. Because God can, if you just do what God tells you to do, He can fix the problems you can't fix. But Jesus is talking to the Jewish nation about the wedding supper that is coming. And he starts out, like I said, talking about how to act at the wedding. But regardless of who refuses to go, there is coming a great wedding supper. The bride of Christ is going home. Because I might make the excuse, find something that I think is better, won't stop the wedding from happening. It won't stop somebody from being there. You see, when God says something, folks, it is going to happen. Now, whether or not we are part of it is totally up to us. Because, now I'm not teaching this because I think you're lost. I'm teaching this. I hope everybody in here is saved. If you're not, we'll stop right now and get you saved. All you got to do is say, I need to be saved. And we'll stop this and get you saved. But I'm teaching this so that we get in our spirit and in our minds how easy it is to put off what God is saying and what God is calling us to do right now. How easy it is. Because I guarantee you, if he can't find any other way to give you up, the devil will get you so busy that he'll hem you up and busy. Things that don't really matter at all, he'll hem you up and busy. Now, I'll tell you up front, it's better to be part of the bride than to be left behind to be maybe a part of the wedding supper. And a lot of folks get this all mixed up together. See, there's not but one bride of Christ. Just one. Christ is not coming back after multiple brides. He's coming back after one bride. The church that he died for, that he purchased. And when I say church, don't anybody get mixed up and saying and believing that Jerry Lackey is talking about just us. I'm talking about the born-again believers who have put their faith and trust in Him and has committed themselves to Him. See, just going to a building that calls itself a church is not salvation. It's going to Jesus who died to give us that salvation that makes us part of the church. It's listening to Him, being committed to Him. See, and when He calls, see, we've got this idea, seems like in the modern church, that we can just put off Jesus and put off Jesus and put off Jesus and put off Jesus, and just any time we get ready, we can just find Him there. That's not always the case, because sometimes death finds you before you find the time for Jesus. The Bible says, behold, the day is the accepted time. Behold, the day is the day of salvation. That, when the Lord calls, is that time. Don't let us get so tied up and believe, and putting off what God has telling us to do today. Now, I'm going to tell you, you know around here, folks, we've talked a lot of times, the coming of the Lord is much closer than what most people think. And you'll get up one morning, and you'll make your final choice. I'll make my final choices. And we don't know that day it's going to be those final choices, so we need to make the choice that God has given us when we understand and know that's it. Don't put things off that God has called us. Because there's coming a great celebration, folks. And the choices we make now will be, these choices that we're making right now will cause us to either be there or not be there. In Revelation 19, we're talking about the great wedding supper that is coming. And the invitation is going out. See, Jesus, when He was talking there in Luke, He was talking to the Jewish nation. Because He understood that He had came, and He said many times through the Gospel that He came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He understood that this was their final time for choice, and that if they rejected Him, the Spirit was going to the Gentiles, and they would be lost. And I want you to notice, because they did reject Jesus, they did reject the choice of that time, that the Jewish nation has been devastated for years and years and years and years. They didn't know that they were making their final choice on whether or not to accept what God gave them. Now in Revelation, the 19th chapter, we find this. We'll start about the 6th verse. And I heard, as if it were a voice of a great multitude, and the voice of many waters, and the voice of many thundering, saying, Hallelujah, for the Lord God omnipotent reigneth. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to Him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and His wife, and you notice that it's not wives, but wife, has made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. And He said, He said unto me, Right blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And He said unto me, These are the true sayings of God. Now, in Revelation 21 and 2, it says this, And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And because of this scripture, many people say, no, the bride of Christ is not the church, it's the New Jerusalem. Well, that's easy to understand. Jerusalem was the place. It was the capital when David reigned on earth. The New Jerusalem is the place where Jesus is going to reign on earth from. And the church is going to reign with Him. So the New Jerusalem that you see coming down is Jesus and the church coming to rule and reign. And there's going to be a great marriage supper of the Lamb. And folks, I want to be part of the bride, not just part of the guest. Again, a lot of folks, we miss that because we don't see who Jesus is talking to. at the time he's talking. Now, Revelations 2, 26 and 27 says this, he that overcometh and keeps my work to the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As vessels of potter shall they be broken in shivers, even as I received of my Father. In other words, this New Jerusalem is going to be the government seat, and the church will rule and reign with Christ. The church is the only one that has ever been promised that we would sit down with him and rule and reign. Now, if it's the church who has the promise to rule and reign, it's our calling. He is calling you to be a ruler and a king and a priest under him. That's our calling. Folks, we are in a time now, a time of proving, of testing. Now, nothing that we can do, folks, will give us salvation except going to Christ. Don't get me wrong, I'm talking about what we're doing. We do, and we say this all the time, you don't work to be saved, you work because you are saved. But today is the day that we have to prove ourselves obedient unto him. Let me tell you, folks, just thinking humanly. Christ made us righteous. Everybody got that? He made us righteous. But he did not make us righteous to sit down now and wait on him to come. We were made righteous so that we could be workers in the field. And just as he was talking about the wedding over there, where the one who brought forth the wedding supper had the authority to set the guests wherever he wanted to. What we do now will depend on where you're at in the government seat. Not your salvation. And a lot of folks, look at that and talk about, and a lot of people believe that when we get there, we'll be judged to see whether or not we're saved. Now that's settled if you know Jesus. You'll never be judged to see whether or not you're saved. Because if Christ didn't do it, there's no way for you to be saved. Christ accomplished that for us. But where we're at in the government seat with Jesus will depend on our walking in the obedience here. Is that all right? He said that we would rule with him even as he had received of his Father. Now, look over at Ephesians 5. Hope everybody's got the Bible. Follow along here. I got to add this back there in case I mess up. Thank God. Ephesians 5, 29, we start here. So no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourished and cherishes it, even as the Lord of the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his blood. See, that's the same thing that Adam said about Eve. She was a member of his body, folks. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. You see, Paul was telling the husband and wife what a marriage should be, but he said, I'm telling you this because that's the way it is with Christ and the church. One, do you understand that marriage was supposed to be a man and a woman working together as one? One looking out after the other. This one looking out after the other. And he said, that's the way it is with Jesus. We become a part of him. What higher calling, folks, can we expect when we look for than to be part of the body, of the spiritual body of Christ? And see, it's that bride that he is going to call home. Now, as the husband in Christ was created to be one, we are created to be one in Jesus. Do you understand that Jesus wants us to be a living, walking example of who he is? It breaks my heart. I hear it. I guarantee you there's not a week go by that I don't hear somebody talking about Christians, talking about their sin. Oh, I sin all the time. Have you ever saw anywhere in the Bible where Jesus said, I sin all the time? See, that's not a testimony of Christ. That's a testimony of our weakness. We should have our testimony in what he has done, not on our stinky selves. Tell people what he's done in your life. Don't go along and be condemning yourself. He didn't condemn you. Oh, it's quiet. Y'all hear that? That's silence. We don't get on that part of this. But as the natural bride, folks, prepares herself to have her name changed to her husband's, she makes that preparation. She does certain things. Is that right? I haven't had but just one bride in my family, Sandra. But before she got married, you know, she wanted the right dress, and she wanted the right flowers, and she wanted everything right. We ought to be wanting everything right before we stand before Christ. Preparing ourselves. Because Jesus has bought and paid for us. He has given us all that he is in exchange for all that we were. I don't think he got the best end of the deal, but thank God for it. Thank God that he gave us, that he loved us that much. And it's him that is doing the calling. Jesus is the one that's offering all our needs, but we are responsible to wrap ourselves in those things that he's given us. Now look at what Peter said. Turn up to 1 Peter 2. 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter. It says, wherefore laying aside all malice and guile and hypocrisy and envies and evil speaking, as newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word that you may grow. Now this is preparing that we're growing in what Christ has given us. If so be ye have tasted that the Lord is gracious, to whom cometh as unto a living stone, disallowed indeed of man, but chosen of God. You see that? Chosen of God. And precious. Chosen of God and precious. You also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Jesus Christ. Now, you are not saved today just because one day you decided you were going to be saved. You're saved because one day Christ called you to be part of his body. We didn't get well up one morning in the flesh, just decide, you know what, I'm just going to quit all of this stuff I'm doing and I'm just going to live a Christian life. My flesh got up kicking and screaming. You don't want to do that. But the Spirit of God called us, chose us. But now, folks, we have to accept the choosing. Just like the Jews who had the opportunity and did not accept it, folks, we have the opportunity today, but there will come a time when that opportunity will cease in all of our lives. Jesus spoke many times throughout his gospel, telling people the story of the coming bride of Christ, of the wedding supper, of the invited guest. Now, what we read there in Luke 14, 15 through 24, where we read it start with, the same story is told over in Matthew 22. But in Matthew 22, it says there was a certain king which made a marriage for his son. And that word marriage in the Greek there is gamos, which means a marriage supper. And he called and they didn't listen. And in Luke 22 there, it says they made light. They made light of it. They made light of the invitation. Folks, God is calling out to this Have you seen folks making light of the call? Well, we could change the sign on bathroom doors so men can go in with little girls. We're making light of the call of God. That's not popular in the world, that's the truth. But folks, we can, when a music icon dies, and we light up our buildings with purple lights, and Prince was, everybody's probably heard of Prince and probably knows Prince. He was a great music artist. But folks act like God died. And they're out there worshiping a music icon. But they're not in church this morning. What would happen? What do you think would happen if we shine the light of the cross on buildings across this nation? There'd be riots in the street. So we're making light, the nation's making light of his calling. The Jews made light of his calling. And they spent all of these years suffering because of it. Folks, when we reject God, we not only hurt ourselves, but we hurt all of those coming after us also. We hurt our children and our grandchildren. But he called the Jews first, and they didn't listen. They didn't listen. And we can look at them as an example. God sent prophets, and he sent preachers, and last of all, he sent Jesus. But as a whole, the nation of Israel did not choose to hear that call to the supper of the Lamb, to the marriage of the Lamb. And Paul, like in Romans, the 11th chapter, starting down at the 15th verse, he's talking about Israel because they didn't hear the call. They would not heed to the call. This is what happened. It said, for if the casting away of them, talking about Israel, be reconciled unto the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? And I want you to understand this. Although as the nation, God cast them out because of their unbelief, he's always had a remnant. He's never forgot his word to that natural Israel. There is going to be a remnant. But Paul said they was cast away because of their unbelief. For if the first fruits be holy, the lump is also holy, and the root being holy, so are the branches. And we were grafted into their branches. And some of the branches be broken off, and thou, being a wild olive branch, was grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and fatness of the olive tree. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off. And thou standest by faith, be not high-minded, but fear. For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. But behold, the goodness and severity of God on them which bear severity, and toward thee goodness, if thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou shalt also be cut off. What's Paul saying? The Jews got all puffed up because they had all the covenants, and they had all the callings, and they had all the blessings, and they said, well, I'm a Jew, I'm going to heaven anyway. I ain't got to listen to Jesus. I ain't got to heed the call. I'm Abraham's seed. They even told Jesus that to his face. I'm Abraham's seed. I ain't never been lost. But they were. And I fear, folks, that this nation, because of all the time that God has blessed her and all the things that God has blessed her with, I fear as a nation we've come to that point where we believe that God's just going to save us regardless of what we do. Now, he's calling now. Yes. But you have to accept that invitation. Paul said they were cut off because of unbelief, and if we followed after them, we would also be cut off. Now, the Bible talks about a fullness of the Gentiles, folks. See, when Israel rejected him and rejected the call, the Spirit of God turned to the Gentiles. And you and I got a chance for salvation. And so now we've come to the same place as the Gentile nations as Israel was at that time, because we have been so blessed. We've got gone to think, it seems that, okay, God just loves us so much and there's no way that He's going to reject us. That's not what the Bible said. The Bible said if we didn't answer, as Israel didn't answer, we would also be cut off. See? Now, and it speaks of the time of the fullness of the Gentiles that's coming. And folks, what that means is the same thing it meant to Israel. There's coming a time when God calls and calls and calls. There's coming a time when that'll be stopped. The Gentile church will go out of here. The blood-bought church of God will go out of here. And the Spirit of God will begin to move again to the remnant of Israel. But one day, folks, the last Gentile in this dispensation will come to an altar of repentance and be saved, and the time of the Gentiles will stop. Because we have rejected Him. Now, He's calling now to whosoever will. There's Jews being saved. There's Gentiles being saved. There's all people being saved. He's calling to whosoever will. But just as it was in that time of Israel, it's this single time then, folks. And the sand's running out of our eyes. So if you got friends, you got family, you got neighbors that don't know Jesus, and I'm not talking about just going over there and camping out and harping on them. I'm talking about we need to be in prayer for them. I'm talking about we ought to be living before them in such a way that they will want this salvation. Because the time of the calling is quickly coming to an end, and the church, the blood-bought church, will be perfected and we'll go out of here. And that's another thing, people look at what's going on in the world and they say, well, the church, it don't even look like it's near perfected. No, you're looking with natural eyes at everything and calling it the church. Everything that goes to church ain't the church. God is perfecting a people, and I'm talking about, when I say perfecting, I'm talking about He's getting a people ready to hear the call come up here. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden you go one Sunday every church house is going to be empty. It means one Sunday every blood-bought person that is part of the real church will be gone. Doesn't mean the church's houses is going to be empty. There'll still be people there. But now, that remnant that could have been, see, Jesus wept over Jerusalem. He said, I'd gathered you. I've already brought you in the fullness of the promises, but you wouldn't. They wouldn't come. And so they lost out. But there is going to be a remnant. We see that all through the Bible. Because God, when He says something, when He makes a covenant with people, He doesn't forget His covenant even though the people forget theirs. And in the end time, when that Spirit goes back, there will be that remnant that is brought. The church of Jesus is coming back to save the remnant of the Jews. But we look over in Matthew 25, and we see another parable. And again, Jesus talking to the Jews. And we keep saying this because I want you to understand the difference in when Jesus is talking to the church and when He's talking to the Jewish nation. Because if you think everything that Jesus said is directed to the church, folks, you're going to get confused on a bunch of stuff. Jesus came to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now, what He spoke to them was true, and we can learn much from that truth. But everything He said was not to the church. It was to Israel. He was the Jewish Messiah. And He told them all these parables was directed at them. The church which was beginning, that He established, which began with Jewish converts, with the apostles. He would step aside when He would talk to the Jews. He'd step aside and He'd say, let me explain this to you. When they asked Him, He would explain to them plain. But to the people He spoke in parable. And in the 25th chapter of Matthew, and I've heard this taught over and over again, as that's the church. And I guarantee you, Most of you have heard this taught as the church. The obedient church and the disobedient church. Well, the Bible says he's going to take out a church, a glorious church. Glorious church, without spot, wrinkle, or blemish. Where is the disobedient church in that? There's no such thing as the disobedient and the obedient church. Now, we can get messed up, and we can get out there and, we can be left behind. But God is going to perfect a church that's going to be leaving here a perfect bride. He's not talking in this Matthew 25, he's talking to a Jewish nation, a remnant for the end time. We ought to understand right off that he's not talking about the church when he says this. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be like unto 10 virgins, which took the lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. They're going forth to meet the bridegroom. 10 of them. 10 of them. But the bride's just one. Oh, Solomon writes that she's the only one of her mother. Now, see, everything that Jesus said, and when he's talking to the Jewish nation, they have understanding because they've been taught at this time. They've been taught under the laws and under the prophets, and they understood things that maybe we don't get real clear until we get there and study. Even the numbers has meaning. 10 virgins. Now, 10 stands for the responsibility under the law. Who had the law? The Jewish nation. But now he divides them into 5 and 5. Starts out 10, then he said 5 was wise and 5 was foolish. 5 is the number of responsibility under grace. Jesus had come to start the grace dispensation. And he said 5 were wise and 5 were foolish. And they that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil. But the wise took oil in their vessels with the lamp. Now, both of them had the capabilities of being a light. They had the lamp. But only 5 prepared themselves to be the light. Only 5 became responsible to be that light. Now, as we talk about, Jesus' when he talked these parables, and when he's talking about the time of the marriage supper and the bride of Christ, it all was based around the Jewish wedding because they understood that. And if you'll go study the Jewish wedding, it'll make a big difference on how you understand the rapture and the taking away of the church and the rule and reign. It'll make a big difference if you study the Jewish wedding. At the time of Christ, the bridegroom, came and betrothed the bride. In other words, he made a contract. He went to her parents. He made a contract. And he offered her a glass of wine, which is symbolizing a blood covenant. He offered the bride a glass of wine. If she drank it, she accepted what was known as the blood covenant. I'll be your blood. I'll be part of you. If she drank it. But you see, the bride had the choice of drinking it. So they would go and he would offer her a glass of wine and she would enter into this covenant. And if she drank it, he went away for a while. He went back to his father's house and he began to build her a place. They would say, I go to prepare a place for you. Where have you heard that before? That was what they said. I have chosen you. You have chosen me. Now I go to prepare a place for you. when it was done, the father of the bridegroom made the choice. He would say, all right. He would inspect what his son had built for the bride. And when he said it was ready, he said, go get the bride. And the son would start. The bride didn't know what time he was coming, so she had to stay ready. But he would send a messenger out in front to go tell the bride, behold, the bridegroom cometh. And all of the bridesmaids would then ready themselves and go out to meet the groom. This is the 25. This is the 10 virgins in chapter 25. They would go out to meet the groom. They weren't the bride. They were the guest. He would come and take the bride back to his place that he had built for her. And they would be in that seclusion, in marriage seclusion, for 7 days. You know how long the tribulation's going to last? 7 years. And then he's coming back with the bride. In the Jewish wedding, 7 days, he came back to introduce his bride to the whole world. And then he had a feast. He had a marriage supper of the Lamb. And those whom he had called to the supper, that had the light, read this whole story, they went in with him to the marriage supper. It's the remnant, folks, of the Jewish nation. But we have to enter into that blood covenant with him to ever be the bride. Signing your name or as a church member does not make you part of the bride. Except in his covenant makes you part of the bride. Except in his covenant. He makes the choices. We just agree with the choices or we go our own way. Now, this is a pattern that Jesus used over and over. Just one bride, not 10. Just those that answered the call was the bride. Just those that answered his call coming to the marriage supper of the Lamb was the guest. Now, when Israel was cast away because of their refusal to accept God's invitation, like I said a while ago, there will come a time when the Gentile nations will also be left to their own means, and the Spirit for the lifetime will once again go and call, come. And it will be the last call to the Jewish nation in the world. He said this, the Bible says this, he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. He's not talking about he's going to send his angels to gather the church. He sends his angels because the church is coming back to gather the elect, which is the Jewish people in this instance. You know, when we see the church living, and John in Revelation, he sets that pattern. You know how John went up to meet the Lord? The angel didn't come get him. He heard a voice say, come up here. You know what he did? He went up there. It'll be the same with the church. That trumpet sounds, come up here, we're going. We're going in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. But during the tribulation, when the Spirit has gone back to the Jews and the Antichrist is trying to kill every one of them, they'll be scattered everywhere. He'll say, go get to them. Because the church will come back as the bride of Christ, and the guests will gather and we'll be one in him. The great marriage supper is coming. I want to be there. I want to be there as part of the church. How could you refuse the supper that Jesus cooked? You tell me I like to eat. I'm looking forward to the supper that Jesus cooked. Aren't you? Aren't you? But Proverbs says this. And folks, all of us today we're either answering him or making excuses. We say, just hold on, Lord, or we're answering him. But Proverbs says this. To all of those that rejected him, because I have called and you refused. I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. But you have said it not all my counsel and would have none of my reproof. I will also laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. Do you see that? He said, I called and folks didn't answer. I said, turn, and they didn't turn. There is coming a time. There is coming a time when God will just say, all right, you don't want any part of me, let's see what's going to happen. Because God is a holy God. He works on his own laws. There's coming a time when the call will quit being sent out and judgment will fall. Judgment will fall. In this nation, folks, we're invited. We're invited, and the whole world is invited. And it will come. But I'd rather be gone with Jesus than to be here watching the judgment fall. How about you? How about you? And we can't go, thank God, because of the invitation. And I believe that we are in that crucial time. And I believe the door of the Gentiles is slowly closing even as we speak. I do. There's great revivals breaking out in different places. But as a whole, the Gentiles has gotten themselves into the place where they think that seems like that we're God and whatever we decide is all right. Whatever we decide. But only the blood sacrifices secures us a place as part of the blood. Only that blood sacrifice that Jesus made on the cross. Because when we accept that, see, when the bride drank that glass of wine in the Jewish wedding, she was saying, I'm putting my trust in the groom. I'm putting my trust in him to take care of me. And when we accept that invitation, when we accept his sacrifice, we're saying, I'm putting my trust in him. Because if we trust in ourselves to save us, we lose every time. We lose every time. But this morning, folks, the invitation's going out. And he invites us over and over and over again to move closer and to walk in his fullness. If you know, like I said to start with, if you knew that tomorrow Jesus was coming, what would you do different today? We need to get that in our mind and just do it. We ought to live every day like this is the day that I'll make my life's choices. So that when that time comes, we can just be ready, not have any regrets. And I hear people talk about it all the time. I wish I could go back and do something different. Well, there's a lot of things I did I wish I had done. But I don't want to go back. I want to go forward. Forward with him. This morning is everything well with your soul? All is well with your soul. That's all the Lord wants to hear. Is to know his people and to know that all is well.